Episode 31 of The Slam is brought to you by Elgato Gaming. If you guys are looking at taking your gaming entertainment career to the next level, whether it be streaming on Twitch or creating gameplay videos on YouTube, you know you need to do it the right way. Elgato Gaming has some really cool capture cards. Of course, now they got the Elgato green screen. And of course, if you have a high quality camera and you want to use it with that green screen, you could just plug it in directly into your cam link, all while controlling it with your Stream Deck. Elgato Gaming is what I use. It's what TonyPizzaGuy uses, and pretty much every major YouTuber out there uses to produce their gameplays. So if you guys actually want to learn more information, I'll put the links down below. If you actually use the links down below from the Amazon, I do get a kickback, so I definitely appreciate it. But today's episode is actually really cool. And you're probably wondering, why is it so cool? Well, it's that time of the year. It's January. And as you guys know, the Royal Rumble is coming up. There's been a lot of news and a lot of rumors and a lot of things that have been happening. And what's really cool this year, we just got some major news in regards to Impact Wrestling, which I'll even throw up a video card here so you guys could go ahead and click the OMG podcast. We talked a lot about Impact and a lot about WWE, so we highly recommend you guys check that out. But there has been a lot of news within Impact and WWE, and you're probably thinking, how is it relevant to the Royal Rumble? Well, of course, you can't have a Royal Rumble without surprises. And this year, we have two Royal Rumbles. So now we have a Royal Rumble with women, and we have a Royal Rumble with the men. And, well, let's just face it, there's quite a bit happening. And I'm going to kind of go through all the surprises and some of the news and some of the rumors that we're hearing that are really geared towards the Royal Rumble. And with that being said, I'm just going to be pretty honest. You know, some of these surprises are probably givens. I think these are like the typical surprises that people want to see year in and year out. And I think some of these surprises may genuinely be a surprise. There's been a lot of talk recently, obviously, with Impact Wrestling releasing some stars. And there's been some news about that. So, first of all, I will kind of give you guys the rundown. As far as Ethan Carter III goes, we are not expecting him to debut or technically return to WWE at the Royal Rumble. In fact, he's actually been spotted near the Performance Center, and it sounds like all these rumors and speculation has come out that Ethan Carter III will be competing in NXT. So, will we see EC3 at the Royal Rumble? Probably not. Will we see EC3 during the Royal Rumble weekend? Well, I think that's where we see him show up at the NXT TakeOver in Philly. And I think that's going to be very significant because, let's just face it, you don't really need the guy in the Royal Rumble. You know, for those who don't know, Impact Wrestling doesn't draw that much viewership. So, yes, hardcore fans may understand that EC3 had left WWE and, you know, relaunched his career. But for WWE, you know, most of the audience probably won't know who EC3 is. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually kind of a good thing. So we'll see kind of where that takes off with him returning during Royal Rumble weekend. I just don't think it's going to happen during the Royal Rumble match. Instead, I think WWE is going to bring back some familiar faces. And one of them is another Impact Wrestling superstar who had left Impact Wrestling at the last tapings. And I think you guys know exactly who I'm talking about. That's right, we're talking about Bobby Lashley. If you guys don't know exactly the whole scenario and you guys don't like spoilers, this video probably isn't going to be the best for you. So I'm going to tell you firsthand, if you don't like spoilers, you might want to fast forward this video a couple minutes. But that's basically been your final warning. Bobby Lashley has left Impact Wrestling, and he did it at the recent tapings. Apparently, him and EC3 had requested their release from Impact in November. They were granted their release with no sort of bad relationship ending story. This is a scenario where they both left because it makes sense for them. And of course, Impact, they let them leave on good terms. And for those who don't know, Bobby Lashley actually left WWE on bad terms. There's been a lot of reports about that. And I don't feel like that's necessarily been a secret. But I think, the culmination of things really lead to Bobby Lashley coming back. And with Royal Rumble this year and just the timing, it is said that Bobby Lashley will be one of the surprise entrants in the WWE Royal Rumble. and he will come back in somewhat of a part-time WWE role. So I guess that's kind of the bummer. Bobby Lashley is one of those guys that I'm sure we'd all like to see full-time in WWE. I'm not sure if his return is really worth it in the sense that he's a part-timer. If he's doing kind of what like Chris Jericho does, then I'm totally cool with it. A lot of people already know that the WWE schedule is pretty grueling. It's a grueling schedule, and I'm all for Bobby Lashley coming back, but I do want to see him on a full-time basis, and it doesn't seem like we're going to get that. But Bobby Lashley could very well be a surprise entrant. There hasn't been any sort of discussion as far as WWE deals go, so it sounds like this could be something that is kind of negotiated as a one-off thing, but obviously leading to something going forward. And that's happened several times in the WWE where, hey, you'll come back for 1 or 2 times, perhaps, you know, bigger episodes or whatever, and you sign like a small little part-time deal, but then next thing you know, these guys actually go into programs. Kind of like Goldberg. Goldberg wasn't supposed to be a full year or close to a full year, but it ended up taking up a lot of time, and that's actually been a really good thing. So yeah, you know, Bobby Lashley being a surprise entrant should be really cool. Obviously, we've rolled out EC3 because he's headed to NXT. And then, of course, there's been talks about a certain return. And a return this big may result in a Royal Rumble win. And I'm all for it. I think a lot of people wouldn't want to see it because they want to see like an emerging star or a rising star. Just the way, it's just my personal opinion, me being a fan of pro wrestling, being a fan of this particular wrestler, I'm cool with him winning the Royal Rumble. I'm sure not a lot of people will be cool with it. But a guy like Batista, it's been said that he really wants to come back to WWE full-time. That means doing house shows, TV tapings, pay-per-views. That's huge. You see a lot of these guys run off to Hollywood and they come back maybe for like a couple matches or whatever the case may be, but Batista has made it clear he wants to come back to a full-time return. Obviously, with that being said, will it happen? It's very well possible. And a guy like Batista coming out would definitely be a surprise, especially with this kind of roster. We don't know if Samoa Joe is out of the Royal Rumble. We don't know with some of these guys, you know, and that's a huge dagger. So you do need some big stars and some big names, and Batista is one of them. Another superstar that could potentially be making her WWE debut would then debut in the Women's Royal Rumble. I'm going to admit, I'm not too sure how I feel about this one because she blocked me on Twitter, but Chelsea Green, you guys may know her on Impact Wrestling as Laurel Van Ness, but Laurel Van Ness is, she showed up on WWE TV before, I think is like she said she had an affair with Daniel Bryan. I think that's what it was. I can't remember the storyline, but it was really, really weird. For those who don't know, though, she is the girlfriend of Zack Ryder, and it sounds like WWE has been very impressed with her work as a crazy character in Impact, and I'll give them props. She actually did really well. She did a good job standing out for herself. Obviously, I think people know, too, that she's a former Tough Enough competitor, so that could be somewhat of a helping thing, too. But WWE had some interest in her. There's rumors that she'll make her debut in the Women's Royal Rumble. Realistically, the crowd probably won't know who she is, but that's okay. That's how you make a name for yourself, especially when you look at the Women's Royal Rumble being the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. There's going to be some really good moments, and that's how you make a debut. I think we've all kind of seen that with AJ Styles becoming such a big star for WWE. Yeah, he's been a big star before WWE, but his debut was the biggest debut we've ever seen in like the last several years, at least in my opinion. So can Chelsea Green kind of have that success? I think it's very well possible. A lot of people may not know. Obviously, a lot of people knew AJ Styles beforehand. That would be the only difference here, but Chelsea Green going to WWE would be pretty significant, especially in the Royal Rumble, especially if she were to take out a returning WWE female superstar, and that's actually number 4. That would be Gail Kim. So there's been rumors and talks of Gail Kim possibly coming back into the WWE. If she did come back to the WWE, it'd be in a very, very small part-time role, maybe even a one-off for the Royal Rumble. So imagine if Gail Kim was there just to do the job and put over somebody WWE's going to heavily invest into, being Chelsea Green. So makes me really curious to see what WWE will do here with the women. And then, of course, you can never forget there's one more person who could be returning to WWE. Rumors are talks haven't fully gone through, but there has been some interest in WWE bringing back Chris Masters. If you guys didn't know, he also left Impact Wrestling. It's a pretty interesting time, especially when you see three of the five superstars or whatever are former Impact stars. So that's really, interesting when you think of potentially bringing in, these individuals for the Royal Rumble, but it makes a lot of sense. And I think that's where WWE really has a good idea going into Royal Rumble. I think this is probably going to be the best year in terms of surprises and debuts. Obviously having, Chelsea Green come in. Like I said, not a lot of people know her. They may not be exposed to her, but it could be a very big thing if she takes off a big name in the Women's Royal Rumble. And then, of course, having like Batista come back, Bobby Lashley. Those are huge. Those are big names. And I think a lot of people are going to be excited for that. So I want to know what you guys think. As always, let us know in the comment section down below. Use the hashtag #TheSlam on Twitter. And follow me on Twitter at TangoWithAngo. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next episode of The Slam.